What's going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's replay review. We are on board with Black Blade 113. It's Halo 4, Infinity Slayer, and we're on Solace. Now, Solace is a unique map, as it's probably one of the least loved maps in Halo 4, and I can kind of agree. This is in the category that an Adrift is, but even more so in terms of awkwardness. There's really a hard traffic flow, or not hard, but there's no smooth traffic flow on this map. It's kind of confusing. It's a little bit weird. So let's take a look at the email that Blackblade113 sent into us. Hey, BBK, I have been playing Halo for about a year now, and never played any other Halos except for Halo 4. In this game, although we won, I felt like we didn't have a grip over the match, and for me, I was just running randomly with no plan nor teamwork. Can you give me some advice? And this is a mid-CSR game around 25. And I'm going to do my best to give you some advice and some things to work around. Now, I absolutely agree with the last sentence where you talk about running around randomly with no plan nor teamwork. And I'm going to highlight this, but I don't think it's the biggest issue within the game. There's some other things like power weapon priority. You ditch a fuel rod or you ditch a sniper rifle for a sword. And in some cases, there's a lot of just fleeing. There's a lot of running away in situations where you don't really need to. So let's just look at this from the most simplistic way that I can talk about this, and that is, if you have no game plan, you're just sitting there, you're playing matchmaking, you have no teammates, no mics, it's just you, how on earth do you decide where you want to go? I talk about moving with a purpose, but what does that really mean when you're in-game and you're playing? That means that at a simple level, you're paying attention to where the majority of your team is on the map. You're trying to control that area of the map, and you're trying to work with your team. What is working with your team? Well, if you hear your teammates fighting in a gunfight and you're not there to help, you're not working together with your team. If you see 3 to 4 members of your team down and you just rush into that area blindly, you're not helping your team. Even if your teammates with complete strangers, randoms, are doing silly things, like right now they're hanging out in the back of your base, you being alone out here and picking fights with 2 to 3 people is going to be hard. Whereas if 2 players work together to fire on a singular player, you're going to have a much better time playing. The thing I want to bring up too at the beginning is there's a lack of comfort between the interaction of the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick. I'll talk about jetpack in a second, but the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick have to operate in unison. You're a flick aimer, and that's okay. I flick a lot too, but what's important is that you get the reticle near the opponent, and then you use your left thumbstick. This is your movement thumbstick to zero in. It's going to be way too hard if you were to just take your left hand off the controller and imagine that your right thumbstick, you had to completely aim on opponents. If that was the only way you could shoot down opponents, it would be extremely hard. A huge portion of your aiming comes from how you strafe and how you move. I won't even worry about bringing up a strafe right now. I do want to focus, though, on power weapon priority. So now that you've gotten this sniper rifle, look where your team is. And that's going to give you a pretty darn good clue of where the opponents are. So now you're hightailing it back over to their side, which is fine. But when you drop down to the bottom middle like this, oh, and missing the fuel rod cannon, that's huge right there. That would have been a huge asset for your team at that moment in time. If you were pulling back after just gotten their sniper and then pulled fuel rod, you're sitting at an enormous advantage. So when you pull the sniper, you immediately want to work to a place where you have sight lines, places where you can use it to where it's advantageous. And here's where Solace plays into that fairly awkward map type. There's not a lot of sight lines on here that offer you a lot of escape routes, as well as some good sniping sight lines. But regardless, you still need to be thinking about that. You know, aiming up and lining snipes up here isn't really going to do anything. And when I was trying to get the screenshot for this video, I used the third-person camera. For most of this game, you're just sort of running in about a 20-foot square over and over again. You're kind of going about 10 feet that way, then 10 feet that way, then 10 feet that way, then 10 feet that way. So pull fuel rod, that's great. There's a saw on your ordnance. You can hold on to that, and there's a saw right here on the floor. Now, if you're not comfortable with the sniper, doesn't look like it, I would pull saw right now, because where are you on the map? Where are these enemies? It's close quarters. Switch weapons, ditch the sniper for the saw, use the fuel rod right now, because right now you're wasting time. Up here is useless. You have the fuel rod. In this case, you get to be the aggressor on these people. No, you don't want to be below them with the fuel rod. It's a harder shot to hit. You want to be above them and hit the ground around their feet and get that splash damage. One more. There we go. Nicely done. Now, go pick up that saw. If you're still hanging in here, what use is that sniper bringing you? And the truth is absolutely none. You could have won that fight. I don't really know why you bailed. The fact that you bailed is why you were one shot, not why you ended up needing to leave that tower. So you pull the speed boost, a weird choice. I wouldn't have chosen it for this map. I think if you get a saw or speed boost, a saw on this map is incredible because there's so many 90-degree corners in the 2 bases. Now you ditch the sniper for the sword. This is a point of contention. This is where I fully disagree with your reasoning. You still have a full fuel rod. A fuel rod is as powerful as a rocket launcher, okay? Maybe a little bit less if your aim's not the best, but goodbye fuel rod. All because you wanted to put together the sword speed boost play. And that's fine if you don't have the fuel rod on your back, but that it's totally not okay. In my book, it's like, when I was watching this the first time, I was like, no! Like yelling at the screen because that fuel rod guaranteed 3 kills. And that is valuable. Can't engage here. Can't engage. No. Yeah. When he's got the fuel rod like that, your only choice is to try and time your jumps to when he comes out and engages that you minimize the splash damage. But in those spaces, it's not something you can just walk up and engage upon. So think about that. When you have that fuel rod, 3 guaranteed kills, which were given up, and also you gave a sword to them. Yes, you got a few sword kills, but it's not worth it when you could have delayed that play. There was no reason to call in when you did. And if we rewind it even further back, I think that saw is more useful. So you sit in that tower, you use your fuel rod, you then grab that saw on the ground, saw him up, and when that saw's out, you call in another saw for more ammo, and you just control these spaces like you are right here. Now that's good teamwork with your team. That's not bad. But you need to stick with your bro right there. Now push out and put shots on that guy. Cool. He pushed him down. All you need to do. Easy cheesy. Don't have to worry about it. Now we move into another point of contention that I have, and that is your choice of the armor ability jetpack. I know everybody who submitted a replay with jetpack is probably now like, man, maybe I shouldn't have used that jetpack because BBK is so mean to jetpack players. I'm not trying to be mean to jetpack players. I'm just saying when you do those maneuvers like you just did, you boost straight up. He's going to have recharge shields here. Let's see how it handles. Push down, and you're going to pull out your bolt shot, and you stuff him down. That's great. I enjoyed that. What would have been better, though, is if you stuffed him and then went around the corner, and you probably could have enticed that blue player to come up and into your range of the bolt shot. I'm saying a 2-for-1 was possible there if you would have kept going around the corner after you bolt shot him. It's a fast set of circumstances. But when you're jumping and using the jetpack like this, that is so useless. Please stop doing that forever. Never, ever just jetpack into the ceiling like that. So let's play it out this way. You can't strafe when you're jetpacking. You become a very slow, a very predictable target. If I were to throw a ball, I know where that ball's going to go. I have a pretty good idea the arc that ball is going to travel. That ball's not going to swing left. That ball's not going to swing right. I'm probably going to be able to catch it pretty easily. The same concept is true when you're jetpacking, especially when you jetpack into the ceiling. You become a stationary target. I know you go for the surprise, like, oh, I'm not on the floor. But it's like after half a second, I've adjusted my crosshairs, and now I'm going to grill you even harder. So, oh, look at that latency. That's so nasty. Pull back till that latency chills out, man. That's something that people who play on bad connections probably know. When it's feeling spongy and your grenades are not coming out for about 6 years, pull back, let the netcode chill out, let the game sort of stabilize. If it doesn't, okay, whatever, then go for the sponge madness. But if it does chill out, great. You're going to feel a little bit better. So there's that snipe. It's up right now. I think the jetpack on this map is only helpful if you're jumping up on those ledges. But even then, I am just not a fan of jetpack. I don't think it's the best armor ability you can pick. I think there's far better utility armor abilities that you can use. So in wrapping up, let's address the main concern of moving with purpose. You're not interacting with your teammates very often, and you're not moving towards with them. When you're with your teammates, it's a good, well, right here, this is a good play. If this would have been happening throughout the game, more of that control would have been in your court. But when more teammates are on X side of the map and you look towards Y side of the map, you can assume that the opponents are going to be on the side of the map that your teammates really aren't, or that's where they're going to be respawning in. Beyond that, you want to avoid the, I'm going to sort of just run in a big circle or run around until I see somebody on my radar. And then we're going to engage. We're going to have these fights where your mid to close range BR is very lacking. It's probably in that below average space. Long distance BRs, I saw a few good strings coming out earlier in the game, but when it's that close to medium range, you're struggling. Beyond that, the sniper rifle stuff, you're not comfortable going for headshots and body shots, I understand, but it's something you want to learn, practice, and master. And it all comes down to A, Octagon, or B, just go into campaign or firefight, Spartan Ops, because it's Halo 4. but it's not a terrible match. You picked up some power weapons. You had some interesting choices with those power weapons and some interesting choices with the ordnance. Here we get the second ordnance at the very end. See if you call it in at all. Grabbing the fuel rod, excellent play. And right now, getting that on him. Yes, you do, I think. Oh, okay, yeah. Usually go for the feet around them. Jump, get that guy, beautiful, and one more. Don't bail. No need to bail here. No need to bail. He comes around that corner, you win. What are you doing? Don't bail. Be more aggressive. Even with that OS, you could have melted that bro. If he comes and chases, you've got that boomstick that can shut him down. Overall, like I said, not a bad game. Man, I enjoyed it quite a bit. There's a few things that you can do to tighten things up, and moving with a purpose is one of those. And at a very surface level, it just comes down to moving with your teammates, engaging on opponents that your teammates are engaging. Now, if they're completely horrible teammates and you're like, we're not going to win this fight, okay, but doing the lone wolf run back and forth kind of thing, or just kind of ignoring what your teammates are doing, that's gonna hurt in the long run. Beyond that, you want to definitely tighten up the left and right stick control, and by that I mean not actually tighten the controller up, but I mean spend time on the sticks, because the left movement, like the left stick for movement, is critical to your aiming with the right stick. There's a nice synergy that they have together, and they operate in a way that is beneficial for one another. And also, moving with a purpose has to do with power weapons too. Don't ditch something like the sniper rifle for the sword speed boost combo until you've drained that fuel rod, until you've eked out all the possible benefit, because that speed boost sword is risky, and what is on your back? A huge asset that is got a lot of boom and a lot of power to it that you don't want to give to the opponent until you've used every drop of advantage that you have. Everyone, thanks for watching. Thank you for the replay, BlackBlade113. Be sure, everyone, to check out my coffee break with Delementary. He's a competitive Halo player. We had a great chat last week talking about the future, the present, and what can come of Halo when the Master Chief Collection gets here, the competitive resurgence, all that stuff. It was quite fun. Have a good week, and I'll see you next time.